Welcome to Multiple Choice Question 5 of the 2008 Mathematical Methods Exam 2. In this video, we will be looking at the solution for this question. A reminder that this video is in no way endorsed by VCAA. And now, just before we move on, I'd like to point out that the use of a CAS calculator may assist in answering this question, and I'll demonstrate both how we can use the calculator to answer the question, as well as how we could do the question fully by hand if you wished. For question 5, we let x be the discrete random variable with a binomial distribution. The mean of x is 1.2 and the variance of x is 0.72. The values of n, the number of independent trials, and p, the probability of success in each trial, are one of the following options. So to answer this question, we've got two unknowns, n and p, so we'll actually need to set up two equations to solve for n and p. So the first equation is going to relate to the mean. So we know that for a binomial distribution, the mean, or mu, is equal to n times p. So the number of trials times the probability of success. So therefore, our first equation is that the mean, 1.2, is equal to n times p. And now the second equation we're going to set up relates to the variance, because that's the other piece of information they've given us. So the variance, which is represented by sigma squared, is equal to n times p times 1 minus p. So therefore, the variance is 0.72, so that's equal to n times p times 1 minus p. And we can now solve this set of simultaneous equations for n and p using a CAS calculator. On the CAS calculator, go into the main menu. Next, we want to solve a set of simultaneous equations, so clicking on the keyboard button, we can bring up Math 1 and then select the simultaneous equation solver. Next, we want to type in our two equations, so using variables, I can use n and p so I don't get confused. We'd have n times p is equal to 1.2, that was the first equation for the mean. And then the second equation for the variance was n times p, and then in brackets 1 minus p. That is going to equal 0.72. Next, we want to solve this for n and p. And hitting execute, we'll find that n is equal to 3 and p is equal to 2 on 5, or as a decimal, n is 3 and p is 0.4. So from the CAS calculator, we found that n was 3 and p was 0.4, which makes E the correct option for this question. Now, if you did want to solve these simultaneous equations by hand, we can do a clever substitution. Because we know that n times p is going to be equal to 1.2. So wherever there's an n and a p in the second equation, we can replace that by 1.2. So therefore, we would find that 0.72 is equal to 1.2 times 1 minus p. So therefore, 1 minus p is equal to 0.72 divided by 1.2, which is the same as 72 divided by 120, just so we don't mix decimals and fractions. And now 72 over 120, we can actually simplify to be 0.6. So therefore, 1 minus p is equal to 0.6. So therefore, p equals 0.4. Once we know that p is 0.4, we can go back to equation 1, where we would say that n times p, so n times 0.4, must equal 1.2. Therefore, when we divide both sides by 0.4, we find that n must equal 3. So n is 3 and p is 0.4 is the same as what we found with the calculator, making E the correct option still. And from the examiner's report, we can see that this was moderately well done on the exam, with almost 70% of students getting the correct answer for that question.